really well today. I'm Dr. Mindy Sloan. I'm the Vice President of the New Learning Academy at American Heritage College, and I'm here to share with you a little bit of information, some ideas, and the benefits of being your best. This is actually the first of a 10-part series of our Leading with Awareness course. And as you can see here, there are 10 areas that can contribute to your own personal and professional success. So today we'll be talking about the benefits of being your best, followed by methods for releasing your creativity. And over the next 3 weeks, we're going to be covering important topics such as exploring multiple intelligences, living a positive or a growth mindset, critical thinking and decision making, emotional intelligence, recognizing and owning good habits, mindlessness, storytelling, and then the last module will be on making it happen. So putting these different methods and strategies into action. But today, we're going to take a look at leadership. We're going to look a little bit at ourselves, and we're going to remember some of the good practices that help us to do our best. A beginning question, I'll just ask you all to reflect on this for just a moment is, can you fake it? Can you pretend to feel better than you feel? Can you pretend to have it more together than you actually do? Can you stay in the air without crashing for as long as you would like? And I think we'll ask that question now and at the end and give you some time to reflect and ingest some of the information that's shown. I think that all of us are like a vase. And if we're intact, we can hold water, we can be a life force, and we can support the life of others. If we're intact, without cracks or crevices, flowers can be in our vase, we can hold water, and we can nurture those flowers. But if we're cracked, the water seeps out. We aren't a life force. We're going to eventually fall apart ourselves, and we certainly won't be able to hold the water that will nurture those flowers. I'm sure many of you have flown, and you've heard the flight attendant describe the importance of putting on your own oxygen mask before assisting others. It's the same idea. If you're not intact, if you're not a healthy life force, you're going to suffer, and you're not going to be helping the others around you either. So I would like you to just reflect for a few minutes here. Think about the best job you've ever had. What made it the best job that you ever had? Did you like going to work? Did you like seeing your coworkers? Were you able to maintain balance in your life? Did you feel like what you were doing was relevant and meaningful? Did you feel appreciated and recognized? Those are many of the characteristics of the jobs that people describe as some of their favorites. And likewise, reflect for a moment on the best boss you've ever had. What did that boss say to you? What did that boss do? What kind of role model was that boss? And I would suggest to you that you can be that leader, that you can help to create that culture, that environment, not only for yourself and your own success, but for the success of the others as well. So you want to be your best. And to do that, it really does take some continuous monitoring, reflection, and some very honest feedback. So what is leading? And let's just look just for a few minutes at the difference between leading and managing. Both are very important, but there are some different characteristics that you can use when you're leading that you might not use when you're managing. So for example, managers are in charge of making sure that there's transformation, but a leader is inspiring that change. A manager might see that it happens, but a leader inspires the people. The leader will also set the vision and make sure that vision is well communicated to those on the team. A leader is often your more creative, imaginative person, while your manager will get into the specific details of completing tasks, and that is incredibly important. A leader tends to think a little bit more outside the box, and so you'll see more abstract thinking with your leader, more concrete thinking with your manager. The leaders tend to be very good communicators. When they speak, they impassion and they inspire others. Equally important is the work of a manager, and their job is to interpret the words of that leader and to put them into action. A few more characteristics. Leaders are often required to persuade because they come in to affect change, to transform, to inspire others. They must oftentimes persuade, while a manager's job is more to teach. A manager needs to understand how a project works, the steps required to complete an initiative, while a leader will look more externally at the big picture. Leading takes risk-taking, and you'll often see a fairly high turnover in the highest levels of an organization, and that's because inherent with leading becomes risk-taking. Managers are often required to have a great deal of self-discipline, to be at work on time, to follow particular procedures. Their work hours can be very long, and they must have almost a blind commitment and focus on completing the task. They're also very accountable to the team. While a leader needs to be confident, and people, I'm sure you've heard the saying that it's very lonely at the top. I think that's very true. Leaders oftentimes are speaking words that are not popular in the rest of the organization, not at least initially. And they're accountable to the entire organization, not just their team, but in all likelihood, external stakeholders as well. So why is it important to lead well? I'm going to review some key pieces of data that have been collected in the last year and share with you that leading has great impact, not just for the leader, him or herself, but for others on the team and the overall productivity of the company. And what you'll see here is the percentage of people, 43% of people would leave their current jobs for just a 10% increase. And you might think a 10% increase is a lot. It's not really when you think about all the effort and resources that go into finding a new job. And that number is increasing. So it's not really the money that's motivating people to change jobs. Here are the 10 biggest pain points that people report when they do change jobs or they're not satisfied with their current position. And you can see some of these things are not surprising. Technical issues, not having the right technologies and software, not knowing how to use them correctly, noisy office environments. You know, if you've seen floors of buildings full of cubicles and a lot of noise, some people don't function well in that kind of environment. A very common one, and I think this is important for leaders to know, is poor communication. A leader and a manager can improve communication. That's something within their power. People also complain about being disorganized. They don't like wasting their time, particularly at work. They don't like having to follow initiatives or procedures that make no sense from their perspective. They don't like rigidity and not being able to balance their lives with their work. They oftentimes feel overworked and under-resourced. They don't like, believe it or not, employees don't like what they consider office politics or favoritism. They're very sensitive to that. Of course, people who work directly with customers don't appreciate difficult customers and too many meetings. So these are very common pain points. And what I'd like you to do is just reflect on the degree to which you as a leader could impact these. And I think you'll see most of them you could. A couple of other trends we're seeing. Employee loyalty is decreasing. A few decades ago, people would stay with the same company their entire professional career. That's not the case anymore. People change jobs quite frequently. There's a belief that leadership is disengaged, disconnected from their employees. Workers say, I need more direction, I need clear direction. And employees don't feel recognized, and that's across the board in almost every industry. An easy thing to fix, but I think that's something that's overlooked. Employees care deeply about their coworkers. They form bonds with the people with whom they work. And if you think about how much time you spend with your colleagues, it makes perfect sense. You get to know these people. We start to care about each other. Most employees say, yeah, my work culture is okay, not great, could be better. And they believe the number one factor that predicts performance is how they feel supported by their managers. Now imagine that you're a leader or a manager in a company and you can have that much impact over your employee satisfaction simply by letting them know that you support them. 2 in 5 people, only 2 in 5, believe that they have clearly defined roles and responsibilities. Only 1 in 4 thinks that management takes their feedback seriously. Only 1 in 3 believe they can reach their full potential. That's very sad. And only 1 in 3 feel like they were recognized for the good work that they do. And again, these are things that leaders can change. How happy do you think your average coworker is at work? Not happy at all. 41%, in my mind, is a big number. And if you add that up with 50%, which is somewhat happy, that means 91% of people are not really happy, not completely happy in their current positions. So culture really matters. There's a saying that culture eats strategic planning for breakfast. And I believe that to be true. People know when you care about them. So 75% of employees said that company culture drives their engagement at work. They work harder or work less based on the company culture. So why does that matter? Because it affects performance. And so right here you can see in the darker color are high performing employees and their perceptions of these different aspects of their work setting. In the orange are lower performing employees. And you can see those who don't believe they have a good work-life balance, who don't believe their feedback is taken seriously, who aren't happy at work, who don't feel recognized, they perform at much lower rates. So even if you don't care about your employees and all you care about is your business, it makes good business sense to create a positive culture. This is a really interesting little figure, and the bigger words were the more common responses of employees when they were asked what drives you crazy at work. And as you can see here, communication is the biggest and the boldest, followed by management, problems, meetings, noise, many of the characteristics we've already shared. So why lead well? Because 70% of the variance in employee engagement has to do with work culture. And as a manager, as a leader, you can impact that. So what does it take to be an effective leader? And we're going to talk about this a little bit more. These are just a few things, and there are many. Lead by example, walk the talk. You must be the change you want to see in the world. Create a positive culture. You've seen a great deal of data about that. Be approachable, an open door policy. A flat organization typically is more productive. Of course, you want to be honest and transparent. Even employees don't like what you say. You want to be honest about it. You want to hold yourself accountable. As a leader, as a manager, you will make mistakes. And when you do, you need to admit that, recognize what needs to change, and make those changes. So commitment, hard work, and then know your team members. Know them as human beings. They're not just employees. They're not just employee ID numbers. They're individuals who have families, aspirations, values, just like you, just like a leader, just like a manager. Provide support and encouragement. Focus on recognition. And I would say on recognition, be specific. It's better to say, Maria, your reports are well written, well organized, and succinct, rather than to say, Maria, great job. So show your employee that you really looked at their work by providing feedback that's detailed and personalized. Keep a pulse on happiness. You can do a variety of different surveys on an ongoing basis and ask employees how they're doing. Make sure it's anonymous so they feel comfortable telling you the truth. And encourage a healthy work-life balance, which means put some flexibility into the schedules. If people want to start earlier, work later, work different days, work from home, if possible, make that happen, because at the end of the day, you're going to have more productivity and higher retention on your employees. Most importantly, as a leader, as a manager, and even as just an employee who's working on the front lines, you want to take care of yourself. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. I want to go back to this question though again. Can you fake it? Can you jump in the air and stay there long enough? Or will you fall to the ground in a nasty landing? If you don't take care of yourself, it will catch up with you. Your vase will become more and more cracked. You'll fall apart. You won't be able to hold any water to nurture any flowers. So the idea that you can just fake your way for an extended period of time is a mistake. It's just not possible. There's so much data that shows this is the case. What I'd like you to do is just for a few minutes, into the chat, I have put this link. And what I'd like you to do for about 10 minutes is take a look at this inventory, and I will put it up on the screen as well. So you can see this survey, and we're just going to take a few minutes. And I want you to look down this list. And again, the link is in your chat. So feel free to open it up if you'd like, and you can make it even bigger. But what I'd like you to do is just get a piece of paper. And if you've had one of these life events, write down the corresponding mean value. And in about, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 minutes, we'll come back and I'll share a little bit about what that means. Just a reminder to take a look at the inventory on my screen. Notice the life event on the right side, left side. And if you've had that life event, write down the mean value. And then once you've got all your life events and mean values written down on a piece of paper, I want you to add up the number. Tell me what total you get. In just about 3 or 4 minutes, we'll come back. And the link is in the chat as well, in case you want to open it up on your own screen. We'll take about 1 more minute. Okay, great. Now I'm going to go back to this screen. And what I'd like you to notice is where your score falls. And you don't have to report it to me. I want you to use this for your own information. And you can see here that the higher the score, the more risk there is that you may have some type of health breakdown. Now, again, this is just a simple survey. It doesn't mean anything for sure is going to happen, but I want you to think about a couple of things. You might have noticed when you looked at that list, not everything on that list is what I would consider a negative event. Getting married, for example, having a child, not a negative thing, but it's still a source of stress. And so it's not really about one singular event that contributes really to our stress level in a negative way. It's about a series of events. And the shorter the span of time and the more events that happen in that span of the time, the more at risk that we are, the more at risk that we are. And I think it's important to know and recognize the risks in our current life so we can take steps and intervene and prevent some type of physical health breakdown. So what I'm going to do is now share a little bit about some things that we can do. The next thing I would like to do, and this is going to again take about 5 minutes, is draw a circle on a piece of paper and pretend that it's a clock. An average day for you. Let's make it an average work day, Monday through Friday. I'd like you to block off the hours that you're working. If you have a job, full-time or part-time, I'd like you to block off the hours that you're sleeping. I'd like you to block off the hours that you're doing other things, shopping, spending time or caring for a loved one, working out, but take a 24-hour day and spend the next, say, 3 or 4 minutes and break it down by how you spend that time. And we'll come back. And again, what you're doing now is you're thinking about a 24-hour day. You're breaking that day down into the number of hours that you sleep, the number of hours that you might work, full or part-time, the number of hours you spend doing other things. So for example, shopping, caring for a loved one, eating, working out. But think about your 24-hour day for about another minute and how you break that day down. How do you really spend your time? And we'll come back in about a minute. Okay, great. Thank you for doing that. Here's how the average American spends a typical work day. This is by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it's 2019, so it's a little pre-COVID, but still it'll give you an idea. So what I'd like you to think about is what the results were of the stress inventory. Were you low stress, high stress, medium stress? How you spend your time, how it compares to a typical work day of a full-time employee. And this is an example of a typical American who works full-time, Monday through Friday. And as you can see here, personal care is a little over 8 hours a day. That includes sleep. Work is almost 9 hours of a typical day. And actually, leisure is a little less than 3 hours. Think about that. Out of 24 hours, you've got 3 hours where you're spending time doing something fairly leisurely, what I would call self-care. And then everything else is much, much less than that. You're cleaning the house, you're doing household tasks for about an hour a day. And, about half an hour, 45 minutes a day, you're buying things, you're shopping. Looking at your clock, thinking about your stress level, I'd like you to reflect upon the degree to which you're doing any of these things. And I'm going to go into these in more detail. But are you spending any time in nature? Think about your stress level and how you spend your time. Do you get any time for exercise? It could be walking, it could be biking, it could be any number of different things. Are you eating well, or are you stopping at a drive-through? Or are you picking up whatever you can find during the day? Are you spending time with friends, connecting with them? Are you learning something or doing something that stimulates you, that helps you feel active? And I'm going to go through these in more detail. I have a picture up here of a globe because I think in the last several years, at least I hope so, many poor people. Yes.
Dr. Sloan, I apologize for interrupting. I'm still seeing your inventory screen. Can you share your PowerPoint with us? Thank you.
Thank you. The reason I have a globe up here is because I think people are recognizing more and more that we live on a planet with many interdependent, connected forms of life, and we're part of that. And I would suggest to you that our human body is much the same. I don't know if it would surprise you to learn that there are 7 trillion organisms that live on our bodies, that literally our body is their planet Earth. It's their home. And they help us to maintain balance with keeping germs and different part of our immune system active. So they thrive and they survive if we do, much like the planet Earth. So we too are an interdependent system, emotionally, physically, spiritually, cognitively. It's important that we are in touch with nature, that we're in nature as much as we can. And there are many, many studies. This was done by the National Park Service. 20 minutes in nature. And that could be on the beach, in the mountains, whatever nature is in your area. Improves concentration, reduces anxiety, makes us more self-aware. Lots of physical positive attributes going along with being in nature, and also prevents all kinds of diseases that we would all like to really avoid. Things like cancer, dementia, and a lot of immune deficiencies as well. Now I'm showing a picture here of either a sunrise or a sunset, depends on your outlook on life. And the reason that I'm pointing it out is because in recent years, there have been more and more research that's really recognizing the health benefits of the sun. So I think we've spent decades, as we should, worrying that the sun could cause skin cancer. And so we put on sunscreen, we've hidden from the sun, and all of that, I'm not arguing any of that was wrong. But what's happened is we've seen an increase in immune deficiency syndromes and a lot of different ailments. And there's more research showing that we are actually depriving ourselves of what I would call as the red range, the rays in the red range in the sun. And that if we're able to experience those either physically onto our skin or through our eyes, so even looking at the rays of the sun in the red range can benefit our immune system. So ideally, we do want to spend time in the sun without sunscreen. And I'm not a physician, so I don't want to say that to anyone, have anyone get hurt. But an early morning sun, a sunset, has more of the red rays. When we're indoors behind filtered light because we've got protective glass, or we're in a car that's shading the sun, or we're wearing sunglasses, we're becoming saturated with the blue rays. And the blue rays can be helpful in many ways, but we can become overdosed on blue rays and deprive ourselves of red rays. So think about being able to actually spend time in the sun. This is one that not a lot of people think about, but there are a number of studies that have to do with sleep. And you might think, oh no, sleeping is being lazy. Actually, sleeping is actually part of our most important health regimen. And actually, there are studies that show, this was the Harvard Medical School. They deprived people of sleep and then measured a variety of different variables. And they found that people that were deprived of sleep ate foods that had a higher caloric intake. And if you think about that, I remember being in college and being out with my friends very late at night, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, we'd eat something like an gyro or French fries covered with carne asada or something, completely outrageous, bad for us. But I wouldn't do that during the normal day. And so they found that body weight with more sleep is actually healthier, not less sleep. So we eat fewer calories when we actually get enough sleep. It can also improve concentration and productivity. And there have been studies that, again, they deprived people of sleep for extended periods of time and found a 36% difference and ability to concentrate and produce. Athletic performance, they've worked with athletes, deprived them of sleep. Of course, that impacted them. Heart disease and stroke have the same impact. If you reduce sleep, they took a study of healthy young men, restricted sleep to 4 hours per night for 6 nights in a row, and it caused signs of pre-diabetes. Now that was reversed within 2 weeks with appropriate sleep, but that just goes to show how important it is. Depression is much more common when we're sleep deprived. Our immune system, it heals. We rejuvenate while we're sleeping. And so we deprive ourselves of good sleep. That increases as well as inflammation and, of course, emotions and social interactions as well. We know that eating well is important, and there are many, many benefits to it, but I want to put on here, in addition to our heart and cancer and our moods, our bones, and contributing to good sleep, is that we're also a role model for younger generations. I know with my grandkids who were visiting me the other day, they aren't going to find me drink soda. They aren't going to see me eat fried foods. I'm going to be drinking water, eating fruits and vegetables. Even if I do something later, like eat a donut, I want them to see me living a positive lifestyle because I love them and I want them to be healthy. Moving is so important. And I think this is one we all need to think about as we're sitting in front of our computers all day or looking at our cell phones or whatever device we carry around in our pocket. Our bodies are machines. They were made to move. Those muscles, those joints, those ligaments were made to move. And so if we aren't moving, we are not circulating. We are not using our energy flow as we should be. And there are so many benefits, and I list a few here that go along with moving. It could be you get up every hour and do a few squats, or maybe you walk around the block. It doesn't have to be anything big. Park a little further from the front door of the grocery store, so you have to walk through the parking lot. Carry your bags instead of putting them all in a cart. Do things that actually push your body, make you use your body, because that's what the body's for. That's what it begs for, actually. Creating and learning, staying active. Keep your brain active. It increases your self-esteem. It gives you a feeling of feeling relevant. It helps you express your emotions. And if you've ever done something that you love for a period of time, is you get into a sense of flow. I do that sometimes when I run. I call it running. It's running for me. 10 or 20 minutes into it, I've completely lost track of time. I come back an hour later and I don't even know where it went. Listening to music will do that. Whatever it is for you. Create and learn and seek that sense of flow, that sense of timeliness. Words matter too. They don't only just impact us, they impact those around us. And again, there are words that create and manifest in our real world. So things like, I'll never be able to do this. Well, you're right. If that's what you think, you never will be able to do this. But if you think it doesn't hurt to try, then you give yourself some likelihood of success. I can't do anything. You say that, you're right. You're not going to be able to do anything. But if you stay instead, look what I've accomplished. I did this. I got up early in the morning. I walked around the block. I ate berries for lunch. I completed this assignment on time. And then generalize that success to your next risk. You'll become more successful. If you think it's too hard for you, it will be too hard for you. If you think others will think that you're doing it and you're worried about what they think, you're wasting your time. What other people think of you is less important. Really, it is. I mean, you don't want to hurt anybody, but other people may project their own limitations onto you. That's not who you are. That's who they are. And for me, I've changed the word should to want. I should get up in the morning. I should exercise. I should eat more berries. I should call my grandchildren. No, I want to get up in the morning. I want to eat berries. I want to hug and love my children and my grandchildren. I do. I want those things. So I changed my vocabulary because it changed my mindset and it manifests in a much more positive way. There is so much research on a positive outlook. Harvard Medical School has found that we actually live longer if we have a positive attitude. It is probably the single biggest predictor of lifespan. So change the words, change the thoughts, change the actions, and you will see changes in outcome. You will see your life change. Which means that oftentimes you have to consciously choose to be with positive people. There are some people who I love who are in my life, and I love them very much, but they go with the negative. There could be the most amazing thing that happened. I had a friend that was over her, and she has a son. He typically misbehaves, and he was doing such a good job staying on task at my house. And when I told her, her response was, well, he never does that. He probably won't do it again. Well, not something particularly healthy for her son, and not even healthy for me. So consciously choose to be with positive people. Use them as role models and be that role model for others as well. This is simple, but there's a lot of evidence that shows that hugs and laughter can improve your lifespan. They can improve your physical functioning, your emotional functioning, your psychological functioning, your cognitive functioning, your spiritual functioning. Now, you may not be someone who wants to be touched. I don't like everybody I know hugging me. I know a lot of us didn't want to be hugged during our COVID time period. So I'm not saying everyone should hug everyone, but understand the power of physical touch, the power of connecting with others, the power of laughter. And have gratitude. Gratitude is one of those things you can choose to have that will launch you out of a victim mentality. So gratitude is about recognize what you do have power over. It's about recognizing your strengths. It's about recognizing the resources that are available to you. If I don't have a job, but I recognize that I know certain people who may know about jobs, I see them as resources. I'm grateful for them. I'll reach out to them. I'll increase the likelihood I'll find a job. If I don't have a job and I just sit around going, oh, no one will hire me. I'm 61 years old. I've got an amazing background, but I'm probably going to be paid too much. No one's going to want to. What's going to happen? No one's going to hire me. So I'm grateful for the people I know. I'm grateful for my experiences. I'm grateful for the knowledge and skills I've developed. Have gratitude for the things, the advantages that you have in front of you, and leverage each and every one of them. Leverage them to take you forward. Be the best you can be. You might be this little animal who's sitting out in the middle of the forest, but if you can be the best at who you are, our job is not to be someone else. I remember watching Oprah Winfrey probably 20 years ago, and someone in the audience asked her, Oprah, I admire you so much. I want to be more like you. How can I be like you? And her response was, you don't need to be me. I'm me. I'm being me. That spot is taken. Your job is to be you. Why are you on this planet? What are your strengths, your wishes, your ambitions, your love? When you succeed, it will be because you are being you. So be your best you. And then just keep going. There will definitely be days where you want to stop, and there will be days where you become more negative. But at the end of it all, you want to keep going. Life is a roller coaster. There are ups and downs, but you want to keep going. So I thank each of you so much for reaching out. And I thank each of you so much for listening and sharing with me today. This is my email address. Connect with me, send me questions, send me ideas, let me know what you're thinking. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Thank you so much.